Hello everyone, Random Gamer Riven here, and I'm your host for this randomised gaming stream for tonight. It's Thursday, the 16th of July. And tonight's stream we're going to be doing something a little bit different, as I'm actually going to be showing a selection of games on the Super Game Boy Player 2, which was actually an enhanced edition of the Player released in 1998. So first off we have Pokemon Yellow, just showing here now. I'm just going to show you a quick bit of the gameplay of Pokemon Yellow and just show you some of the special features this has with the Super Game Boy as well. Instantly you'll see this one has a special background from the get-go. And I'm actually playing my, what is described as 15-year-old save file for Pokemon Yellow, although I never actually finished it. I did about 30 hours. I never actually finished it. I did enjoy it at the time, but Pokemon was always a really slow game that just doesn't have enough variety, if I'm being brutally honest. But this is the Super Game Boy Player 2. It does have a horde of options, and so I'm just going to quickly do a bit of Pokemoning. And then I will show some of the options. I'll show you a few of the cheats and the special bits as well. So the tail, let's do tail whip. Although my Squirtle is vastly more powerful than this Rattle, so I'll just take it down. Fight! So I'll just say hello to Software Agent TV. Glad you could join us. And yes, I get the quite nice Pokemon reference there. And hello to Chris Lowell as well. It's great to have you joining the stream as well. I hope you guys enjoyed the stream as I'll be going through a selection of Game Boy games. I've got a selection. I don't have usually these type of, when I do a sort of free-for-all one, I do like to have a huge number of them. Oh, we got to level 15 learned water gun. Okay, I'll nip back to the save point. So this is the Super Game Boy 2, and it does differ quite substantially from the original Super Game Boy. So you can change colour. You can actually change between two set colours. Now, this one also has, like the original Super Game Boy, a nice selection of preset borders. So that is the special one that you get for this game. Not every game has a special border, but you also have the Super Game Boy 2 one, and I'll just take that down because I'm going to show you something neat here. So this is the Super Game Boy 2. You'll notice it's basically this is the same as the Super Game Boy 2 one. Now this Super Game Boy 2 has 8 unique borders that are different to the original Super Game Boy. However, don't fret, there is a cheat that will enable you to change back to those borders as well, and I'll just give you all those cheats. So this first one, right, if you press L 4 times then R after selecting the Super Game Boy 2 standard border, you change colour. In fact, you can cycle through a couple of colours. We've got yellow, pink. So it's L 4 times and then R. 1, 2, 3, 4. R. And we've got green, we've got blue. 1, 2, 3, 4. And R. We've got red there. And 1, 2, 3, 4. R. And black is the last colour. And if I do 1, 2, 3, 4, we go back to the default colour. Although the default colour is actually quite bland, so I'll put it to 2, 3, 4. Stick it in. I quite like the green actually, it's not quite as eyeball piercing, so I've got the old Pokemon Center. So I've got a selection of games with me. I've got all 3 of the Super Mario Lands. Just shout out what you want to see. I've got Space Invaders. I've got the Fidgets. I actually am going to dig out Star Ocean on the Game Boy as well, although I'm not going to be able to get that far into that one, but that's probably one just worth showing because it's such a breathtaking game on the Game Boy. It's one of the last Game Boy games as well. It was 2001 and it really is impressive looking. That's the original Game Boy, not the Game Boy Color. I also have with me Castlevania Legends, which is the 3rd and final Castlevania, and that's probably one of the better ones. I've got Donkey Kong, I've got Turtles, and I have Gargoyle's Quest 2 as well on the Game Boy, which was only released in Japan. So I've got a few odds and ends. I would grab more, but I realised we're not going to see for everything. I thought I'd just do one of the Pokemons. So there are some cool, as I said, there are some cool options with this, and I'll show you one of the other ones. So let's bring this up now. So you've got, these are the new borders. So you've got the classic black border. That's actually the same in both sets. You've got this rather awesome sort of cybernetic border one, which is quite cool. These sort of gubbins of a Game Boy. Instead, if you press, you can bring up a screensaver mode by pressing L 4 times and R on any of the other borders. Now this, on certain borders, the screensaver doesn't do anything, but I'll show you in a sec. So basically, the magic combo is L 4 times and R for most of these modes. So we've got that one. We've got a nice palm tree border if you've got a beachy game. I've also got Mania as well. So we've got a nice little palm tree border. We have a sort of tapestry board, and you've actually got Game Boy images, etc. We have a lovely cog border as well, which is this one. So that's sort of steampunky if you've got any sort of cybernetic metallic games. And it really is a lovely thing, the Super Game Boy. The Super Game Boy 2 does have quite a few nice features and improves the emulation, so it's well worth it. The emulation, well, it's not emulation, basically it's a hardware reproduction of the Game Boy. I shouldn't say emulation because it's not emulation. There are one or two quirks with it though. There's still a few games, certainly a few of the later ones that still don't quite play correctly on it. But at least the game speed's running correctly. The original Game Boy, yeah, we're lucky enough. I've got a North American cart for Mania. It is a wonderful game, and it does actually support the Super Game Boy. I would quite like to get a PAL European Complete one. It's one of those. It was a Miyamoto game that he did, but it was done towards the end of the Game Boy's main life, and it kind of got left behind. I think it was released in that period before the Game Boy Color became prevalent, but after the Game Boy had sort of had its heyday. I can show you a bit of Mania. There are a lot of games I could grab, but I just don't have none of the. I don't have any of the Mega Mans on offhand. So we've got a sort of what I describe as Echo the Dolphin theme there. If you've got an aquatic game, and finally we have a Colosseum theme there as well. So those are all the new themes. So you see they've got some nice new themes. However, if you want to go back, if you miss the original Super Game Boy themes. So again, this game has the smiley face indicates there that it's got a Super Game Boy theme. If you want an original theme, go back to this option, and so to have no border, then press L 4 times, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then press R. Then you'll hear a little sound, and when you go back, the borders will have changed to the original ones seen from the Super Game Boy site. You've got the Windows one. I think this should be the original Game Boy's one. Yeah, we got. That's the original Super Game Boy's border. Got the sand one. Got the sort of house one. This is the harvest. This is regards like the Harvest Moon one. We've got the theatre one. Supposedly the theatre one is an Easter egg if you let it go, leave it quietly long enough, although I'm not sure if it does turn active. Original, nice. Well, I hope you picked up one of those clearance games, because Mania is worth quite a bit now because it didn't sell particularly well. So if you had managed to nab a copy sealed, or even just complete these days, I think it does go. I mean, it's not super expensive, but it's certainly not a common one. So there's the last, the original. Of course, the end border is the draw your own border, which was always a bit. You need to be super art talented. Oh, that was the Art Deco one that didn't really suit. So let's go back to. Now, last thing I'm quickly going to show you. Let's do 1, 2, 3, 4. Bring that up again. We go back to the original borders. Now, if you select any of these newer borders, so let's pick this one, and then if you press 1, 2, 3, 4, right. So if you press, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, there we go. Obviously the screensaver doesn't work on that other border, but if you run, so if you do LLL 4 times and R again on borders 4 to 10, this will come up, which is the screensaver mode. So you didn't actually get one in the clearance sale, you probably grudging it. Although it's always nice to get one from a friend. It's always a game you'll then keep hold of and treasure. I know I got mine quite cheap, car only, I think, just got it one day in sort of a car boot sale or something, so... I'm just munching on some dessert. So that was the screensaver, which is quite cool. The little guys walk down in colour. So is there any preference to any game you guys want me to show next? So yeah, I pretty much mentioned... Oh, I have a 1 Bomberman game and 1 Turtles game. So I've got the 3 Mario Worlds, the Fidgets, 1 Castlevania, Mole Mania... and Gargoyle's Quest. Everything else, well, I could dig out Mortal Kombat or something. Just seeing what I've got down in this drawer, because I've got one of the racing ones and a few oddities. Grandia Parallel Trippers, Double Dragon 3. Maybe I'll do Mortal Kombat as well, just to show. So I've actually got the Mortal Kombat 1 and 2 double pack here complete. Let me just dig this out for a second. I'm just going to swap games. Do bear with me, the display will go blank. So let's look at a game completely ill-suited for the Game Boy. But, well, it's always nice to know they did port some of these games. Yes, a completely ill-fitting game for the Game Boy, Sub-Zero. Here we have Mortal Kombat 2 on the Game Boy. This is actually the double pack, so you saw there I could do Mortal Kombat 1 or 2. Actually, it's not as bad as what I remember. I remember it being far worse. It's at least half playable. Perhaps not the best game to showcase the Super Game Boy, but at least you've got a set colour. Now, you have got a whole raft of colour, in-game colours, so I can literally, if I do this, this option allows me to change the colour sets, so basically the colour set's playing the game. Oh, it says your previous colour set, doesn't it? So you can also change colours, so I've got a black one there. Now you can get like classic green ones, so we've got one that's similar to the pea green one there. And we've got this one which is really close to the original Game Boy, so let's do with this one. It's probably one with the nostalgic Game Boy look. Although there are quite a few moves, so back, I'm just trying to work out how you finish him. No idea how you do fatalities on the Game Boy one. Not exactly the best. I mean, it's got quite nice sprites, I suppose, for a Game Boy game, so it's certainly an impressive one to at least show off. Maybe if I do the... I do like the old pea green look, which is quite close to the original, how the original Game Boy was. The Game Boy Pocket actually used a more sublime black and white screen with a sort of digital display, so it actually looks a lot nicer than the old pea green one. Yeah, this is certainly not a faithful recreation of the arcade game, so to speak. Bum, 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 bum. Does anyone want to see Mortal Kombat 1? Or should I jump to another game? I think a brief summary of... Yeah, you got the trailer, so the trailer fights play out quickly to show. And you can also change the colour presets as well. So you can basically have two colours, so you can swap between sort of, you pick two and then you can swap. Although I quite like the pea green one, as it reminds me of the original Game Boy one. You know what, I think things have been chatting about Mania Software Agent. I will quickly jump onto that. As you can see, this is another Super Game Boy cart, so not only does it support the Super Game Boy's colour palette, it actually has a very nice border. Let's just start a quick game. And yes, that evil farmer is stealing all the moles. Actually quite a menacing start where the fact your whole wife and kids have been kidnapped. It's usually the sort of quite menacing thing quite serious villains do, and you don't tend to see that. Interesting, this is supposedly a game done by Shiryu Miyamoto, and it's one of his better games actually. Obviously, Jingbi and our mole hero do not have the best of working relationships. Maybe he dug up too much of his land. So that's the nice little kangaroo there. Here's the first boss to show you. This is actually a really interesting game. In fact, you have to basically dig around and you basically find undergrounds from the sort of mole sensei as well. Basically, you dig around, you dig underground, you find secret routes. You get blocks to block your path, so you can see here we can grab the heart. They were stealing his vegetables, were they? That's still quite a dark outcome. He's obviously stealing his vegetables to feed the food, feed his family. He's just mercilessly kidnapped his family. Admittedly, I only have a cart-only copy, sadly. This is one game I would like a full retail version of. It's actually a North American cart-only one. But as a Game Boy game, this is a really, really, really nice late life one. And the Super Game Boy really does take advantage of it with the special borders. This really is one of those games that if you want to see what Super Game Boy can do and how it can enhance the Game Boy experience, play this one. Yeah, it is a true puzzle game because, I mean, I've done the first couple of stages and basically got to know where to push things and how to get around them. We can pull them as well. It's also one of those games you can proverbially foobar yourself if you make a mistake. So I think I just did there, all that. Yep, so... Again, as you mentioned, it's got some really nice TV music. Certainly listening to it on the TV because it sounds much more in line sort of NES music. I'll play this one for a little bit as this is a pretty stonkingly good game. And does need more love as well. It's one of those games that really has not had the love it should have got. Lock 'em up. Let's wait for this little chap to move there and then I'll block you. And the thing is, the border, I mean, a lot of these ones are actually really, really nice to play. Although the Game Boy Advance player does allow you to play at slightly bigger screens, you don't get the special borders. Needs a Switch version. Yeah, you know, it'd be nice. This is one game that could actually do with a remake for something like the Switch. You know, like Link's Awakening, a remake like that. Just because it didn't really get the potential it should have done because, of course, it's one of those games that didn't really succeed on the in the market, so to speak. And it'd be nice if it got an actual remake, so it finally got... Because, I mean, I think even Miyamoto mentioned it. He was sort of disappointed with how this one sold. But that's because, no, this was released at a really bad time in the life of the... Basically, the end of... This really was released at the end of the original Game Boy's life. Got all the signs there. Are they going to say anything interesting? Stand there, get going. I forget what I was going to say. So you got a nice little joke of the mole being a little, your mole boss being sort of being a little bit senile, or is that supposed to be your pa or something? And he also acts as a healer. And Jingby, yeah, Jingby's sort of a sort of pseudo-American name. Obviously you have a life up system as well with the cabbages. So what's that? So again we've got maps. So there's a little bit of Zelda in this one as well with some of the way how things work. And I've probably put that hole in the wrong place actually, so... Okay, how are we doing on time? Okay, I've done about 10 minutes of this one, so I'll probably give a break. But this is more Mania. See, it's a lovely Super Game Boy game. Really takes advantage of the Super Game Boy's features. And it's a really good Game Boy game as well. And it's one that... It's a fantastic and largely forgotten, as we were discussing Software Agents TV. Yeah, largely forgotten Nintendo title that definitely needs more love. I'm glad at least a few people remember it. Actually, I've just dug out Double Dragon 3 on the Game Boy. Let's see what this is like. Sadly, I don't think it's as good as... It's got a Klein on it. I don't think it's as good as Double Dragon or 1-2 on the Game Boy. Let's swap game for a second. Just to show off. But it's not this. This is a really nice border with the moles, and I do like it because the Game Boy Player on the GameCube, although that technically has better hardware recreation of it because it does the Game Boy Color, and I've seen a few games on this that do have issues that don't have problems on the Game Boy Player on the GameCube. But the problem is you don't get the nice borders which is a real shame. Although, interestingly, I believe Zelda DX, that was supposed to have a Super Game Boy border. It's actually on the ROM cart, but I don't believe the Super Game Boy will ever load it up for some silly reason. I'll do a bit of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles in a bit as well. So, Double Dragon Tree. This is Technos. Is this any good, this one, or is this rubbish? The arcade game of Double Dragon 3 is horrendously bad, but let's... This is as bad as the Game Boy one. No, this is as bad as the arcade one. Yeah, what would... I think every version of Double Dragon 3 is pretty terrible. I just quickly give a different colour scheme just for the fun of it. I quite like the first two NES Double Dragon games. They were actually quite good. The third game is probably... I mean, it's not a bad game on the NES, but it's brutally hard. Basically, the problem with Double Dragon is Double Dragon 3 was just horrendous. And the NES one tries to get away from some of the ports of it. This one is just like a port of it. And again, this is pretty ropey. The original Double Dragons on the Game Boy are really good. Probably should have grabbed one of them. We definitely have one of them. Oh, you can see there, by the way, getting my arse proverbially handed to me. Just do a little bit this stage. Yeah, again getting the same enemies over again so quickly. The collision's a bit wonky as well. But at least it makes it a slightly more palatable experience than playing on the original Game Boy. I do prefer the ability to play a lot of these Game Boy games on sort of console. It just makes it a bit more fun. Yeah, they're just unstoppable, the enemies in this one. Keep out! Oh well, we've got some nice bikes. You get the fly kick just right, else you're going to take lots of damage. Okay, there's the boss dude, yeah. Let's just do as we do in Double Dragon 2, get them on a conveyor belt and beat them. Well, they don't actually get on the conveyor belt in this one. The enemies won't get on the conveyor belt. Nice, so it's just basically a way to kill you and nobody. But you can see this, at least it makes, as I said, the Super Game Boy makes a nice way to play games like this, even if they're not particularly very good. Okay, I will probably jump onto Mario 2 in a second. Mario 2, what? Actually, so Mario 1 or 2 or Wario Land, guys, make your pick. Double Dragon Neo wasn't bad on the PS3, I will give it due credit, it's quite a good game. I quite like Double Dragon 4 actually, I quite enjoyed that, but of course that was basically a reskinned NES game, so... You had a sort of weird power-up system. This was one of those early games that actually used effectively buy-ins in the arcade game, so it was deeply unpopular. You actually had to pay to upgrade it. So I will jump. Actually, you know what? I'm going to do Star Ocean next, just to show you. While you guys decide if you want which of the Marios you want, I'll just quickly show you the start of Star Ocean because it's stunning for the Game Boy. So here we go with Star Ocean on the Super Game Boy 2. This is actually one of the last original Game Boy games. Some great Game Boy music as well, absolutely fantastic. This is also the last game the original Star Ocean team worked on, hence why it's probably actually should be considered as the third Star Ocean game. I believe a couple of the characters from the previous Star Oceans turn up in this one as well. I think a few of them are even playable from the get-go. I think this was kind of like a side story. There's something that occurs on number 2. Yes, this was released in 2001, so it's quite surprising. It really is a sort of one of the last original Game Boy games. Yeah, it's not even a game. I mean, it says Game Boy Color, but of course it is an original Game Boy one, as Game Boy Color games don't play on the Super Game Boy, and this even got the Game Boy board. So you got all. I think you have what happened to them in Star Ocean 2, and then it gives you what's happened to them since Star Ocean 2. Then you'd actually have Star Ocean 3, which was the sequel. So I'll just let this text play out for this character, and then I will quickly start a new game to show you the fantastic Game Boy intro and a bit of the gameplay. But yes, this really is a late life. I think a few late life Game Boy ones. I remember the Mega Man Extreme was really late to get hold of in Europe. I remember I one day walked into game and there was just Mega Man Extreme, because basically it's Mega Man Extreme 1 and 2, and yeah, so it gives you all the characters. I'm not going to show you. Let's quickly do a new game. I think they slightly overdo it with the blue colour palette, that I will say. I actually really enjoyed the Star Ocean series up to a point. I don't think that much of 3 on the PS3 or 4 and 5. I haven't even played 5, but by all accounts that's pretty run of the mill. I think the problem with the series is it didn't quite go into the sci-fi realms it needed. It was originally devised as a weird sort of pseudo sequel to Tale of Phantasia. So yep, here we go. Here we quickly chat to all the crew members after surviving the crash. So she can also punch in a little robot. But again, this is a game I doubt many people have ever seen or even heard of. And in fact, it's a toothless. So again, you can jump as a little robot. I think that's a medical. Yeah, HP MP. Here we go, checking all the other characters. I think basically with this one, you actually get all the characters from the get-go. And as I said, I think this is a spin-off story to after the events of the second game. Technically, all the Star Ocean games occur in the same timeline, but they're a mixed bag. 4, I didn't mind, but it just felt like they needed to do a lot more sci-fi stuff with Star Ocean. Oddly enough, I think Rogue's Galaxy on the PS2 really showed what Star Ocean should have and could have done. I think Rogue's Galaxy was probably a better game. The original Star Ocean on Super Famicom is fantastic. I absolutely detest the remake that was done on PSP because it just stripped out the heart and soul of the game. In fact, I know that they recently released that version on PS4, but I probably will grudgingly pick it up at some point, but it's just not a very good remake. When your remake looks worse than the original game, something's gone wrong. There's some really fantastic cutscene art in this one as well, as you can see here. So some huge. I don't know how big the cart is. It must be a big Game Boy cart. Only thing I'm not keen on is the default colour scheme for the game itself. I think it's a little bit too blue for my liking. So here you go, you actually get to pick all the characters pretty much. You do unlock them as you go, but basically you get a cast of characters. So this is quite a nice one in that you actually start with a selection of heroes you just go out to explore. Oh, the DJAP translation. Yes, DJAP were... I started playing the DJAP one, but I never finished it. I subsequently bought an actual cartridge, so let's just give me the rundown on tech. I do love the original Super Famicom version of Star Ocean. The battle sequence, the animation, if I can get to one of the battles quickly, is absolutely fantastic in this. I think, yeah, you can smash. So you got a little bit of live action control, Zelda style. I think we're about to get pounced by something. But definitely, if you're a fan of Star Ocean, I do recommend this one picking up. It didn't cost me a lot either, and it's hugely impressive. And it looks really nice, and yeah, see that the animation is just fantastic. And the music for a Game Boy game is also sublime. You've got different attacks as well. I'll jump onto another Game Boy game in a sec. I'll actually jump onto Castlevania Legends, unless you guys want to see Mario. Should I do one of the Marios? Okay, thanks for joining Software Agents. It was great having you on the stream and great chatting as well. So, no worries. Thanks for joining the stream as always, and glad you enjoyed it as well. And we know we've got a few people watching, so cheers. And if you want to say hi, guys, feel free to chat in the comments. I'm just suggesting we have a few other games to look at. I'm not going to show you everything. I've got a selection of titles I've grabbed. So I've got all the Mario worlds, Mario lands, I should say. Do you have any preferences, guys, or I will pick do about a couple of minutes of each game, pick them at random, just show them on the Super Game Boy 2, how it compares, certainly how it looks, because I don't think that many people have actually shown off, giving you sort of the feel of how this one looks and plays. So I'm going to leave it there for Star Ocean. This is Star Ocean Blue Spear on the Game Boy, as the border suggests. Okay, right, I'm going to swap to... I'm going to swap to the very special Space Invaders, which I'm going to show you. Everyone will be amazed at this one. Okay, so this is a very special Game Boy game. In fact, I was actually going to do a video on it, and I will do something in the near future. So this Game Boy game has a very unique... In fact, I think it's the only Game Boy game with this. You'll notice I've got Super Game Boy and Arcade. Now, that arcade is something very special, but before I show the arcade version, I'm going to show you the nice borders and the Game Boy version, and then I will do the arcade version. So basically, the arcade version is actually a separate ROM. It's not the Game Boy ROM. So you've got black and white cell phone, or colour. Let's do colour. This is probably one of the seminal video games, and probably one responsible for me getting into gaming, owing to the fact that one of my relatives, many years ago, back in the late 80s, actually had a Space Invaders arcade game. And that's what we used to play whenever we went round there. Now, this is just the base game. I'll show you the arcade game in a minute, and I've actually had to buy the SNES one because I want to do a comparison video at some point to, in fact, just to show what, because that arcade is actually a separate ROM, and this is one of the few Game Boy games. Should I spill it now? Should I tell you? This is one of the few Game Boy games that actually contains a Super Nintendo ROM on it. So that's right, it actually contains, not only does it have the Game Boy game on it, it actually contains a Super Famicom ROM image. And this wasn't actually released in Japan, so it's actually a SNES ROM image, I should say. The original Space Invaders was, but this enhanced colour version wasn't. And unfortunately, I only have a car-only version, so I do need to get... Yes, if I don't kill all of these, I would be absolutely ashamed of myself as a... Come on, come on. Gotcha. Okay, that's enough of the base game, I feel. So I'm gonna do... I don't think there's a way to reset it from here. I will just literally tap reset, and this time I will pick the arcade. Now, this is what's really special about this Game Boy game. Is why I picked this. Some of you might be going, why would you pick Space Invaders on the Game Boy? Arcade now invading your Super NES. Yes, you're about to see Oh! Oh, of course I'm playing the PAL one. Okay, so I'm supposed to be showing you the PAL. This is supposed to be Space Invaders. As you can see there, it's actually gone to the SNES ROM. Unfortunately, because it's the PAL Game Boy cartridge, I actually need an North American one. It won't run on my US SNES. Never mind. But this is actually the SNES ROM. This has gone into the SNES ROM, which is quite neat. And it would now show you the SNES ROM if I had the PAL, if I was using the PAL Super Nintendo. So I will have to video that with the PAL Super Nintendo at a later date to show it to you. But at least you got the SNES splash screen. But yeah, it's obviously it's one of those rare games that's actually region coded, or at least it's detecting the region or the hertz speed of the SNES it's running on. Yes, sadly, my Space Invaders was the UK version, so it won't run on. It did run fine on the PAL system, but of course, I'm not playing on a PAL system. I'm playing on the North American system. So here we go with a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles classic. It's Hi, Strange Moon. Thanks for joining the stream. I only played on UNK Secrets, Endings, and Ridge Racer Start. Okay, yeah, we're covering Super Game Boy. Nice to hear you playing Mortal Kombat 3 and Ridge Racer. I don't think any of them got released on the Game Boy, but thanks for joining the stream. Are you playing them at the minute? So let's do a bit of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Let's do Raphael. Let's have a quick gander. This is when Konami were at their very high point. Let's do a background that's fitting of Turtles. Don't think any of them is going to be that. Let's do the Game Boy one again. The sort of Gubbins Game Boy. Yes, we have the Turtles, a rendition of the 80s Turtles music. 90s rocks is the sign. We can get a feel of the speed and how it runs on the Super Game Boy 2. And I will say the Super Game Boy 2 is a great piece of hardware. It's because it is much more accurate than the original Super Game Boy. It was only released in Japan, sadly. It also has a link cable so you can transfer. That was, I think, one of the main reasons for it was that the original Super Game Boy did not allow for a link cable, so it meant you couldn't trade Pokemon. So I think it also ran Pokemon a touch too fast. So that was the main reason for this one. They wanted to basically do better better hardware recreation. Because the problem was that you couldn't update the software on it, so it's the hardware. They addressed some of the hardware issues. There are still a few issues with a couple of games, though. It's not a perfect hardware recreation. So if any of you guys have got preference to, if you want to see any of the Marios, let me know. I'll pick one of them next. They've also got Castlevania I'll probably show off as well. I'll show a few more games for it. Probably I'll run a bit longer than the usual. Yeah, this is actually the Konami Turtles games were actually really solid on the Game Boy. The third one's actually a sort of Metroid-style rescue game, and it's really, really good. Unfortunately, the third one didn't sell very well, so these days it's incredibly expensive to get hold of. Although we did manage to snag one quite a few years back, so we managed to get it before the price. It's a really good game, the third one. Although we don't have a PAL one, we actually have a North American one. But see, there's some lovely sprites, and I do love the old Turtles music as well. I'll see if I can quickly get to the boss before I finish this play on this. It may not be the arcade game, but it's still, and it is an incredibly easy game, but it's one of those titles that's just well worth doing. I should actually, now that we've got the open source scan converter, start doing more Game Boy games on the channel. In fact, should start doing more long plays, etc. But it's just me trying to fit in time between doing this, the streams, and we have got a long play coming. So I'll be running. I'm actually going to be sorting out the video tomorrow for export, as I finished editing it today. So yes, I totally agree, Strange Moon. I would love to see another Rocket Knights. There's technically 4 Rocket Knights games, because Sparksters on the SNES is a totally different game to Sparksters on the Mega Drive. And I really do love the 3. I wasn't a fan of the 2010 one by Climax. I think they didn't quite get the gameplay quite right. But the original game on SNES, no, the original one on the Mega Drive and the one on the second on the Mega Drive and the SNES one are fantastic. Although I think, for me personally, I think Rocket Knight and Sparks on the SNES are my favourites. But I think I prefer the SNES one the most. It's a shame there wasn't a Game Boy Rocket Knight. Really could have done with a Game Boy Rocket Knight. I'm hopeful I'll get to the boss in a second, because I quite like to do a boss before I change game. If you lose all your health bar, your turtle gets captured, you don't have to rescue them. Ooh, got some barrels to smash there. Okay, it's Rocksteady. Yes, this is what I wanted to do. I wanted to get one. One thing, I do love the animation. Even though it's a Game Boy game, it's got some fantastic animation. Yeah, it's not that hard, but it's still a great game to play. Okay, I will swap now. Do you guys have any preferences for any of the Mario Lands? Which one you want to see? 1, 2, or 3? Wario Land does have a Super Game Boy border. Super Mario Land... I do love that Turtles music as well. Okay, I will swap to... I'm just going to very carefully do an eeny, meeny, miny, mo and change to... If you guys have no preference, I will literally pick one at random for the Marios. And it didn't like Donkey Kong that first time I inserted it, but it's working now. Yeah, I was going to do Mario, and I thought, actually, no, I'll do another game with Mario. I'll do Donkey Kong, because this is, again, is another Super Game Boy compatible one. Actually came with a Super Game Boy colour manual in the UK as well. And as you can see, it's got a wonderfully designed Designed coloured title screen. Okay, so can't remember which file was mine. It's not the ones. Yeah, let's blow this one up. Clear data. Yes. And also, I really do like the arcade cabinet on this one for the, much like the Arcade Invades one. It just feels like, yeah, almost it's a really nice way. I will pick one of the Marios next, actually. So we've got the original Donkey Kong. This one, I really like this one because each of the stages change. So although this first stage is a homage to Donkey Kong, I just failed miserably in that starting stage. And I am absolutely failing miserably. Just you do like one stage and then Donkey Kong, just you start. This one goes from being like literally like what appears to be an almost faithful recreation of Donkey Kong to a completely game on its own right with stages and everything. This is a really, really good Donkey Kong 94. Really. He says as Mario gets rolled over. Okay, right, attempt no fall. Right, I'm just going to ignore the hammer. Okay, B. A is jump, not B. So I'll make some wacky excuses to why my gameplay skills suck at the minute. But I'm not going to, it's just me failing. So here we go. So although this one homages the original... Did I pick arcade mode? Did I pick the original arcade mode? No, I'm pretty sure I picked... Or does it do the first 4 stages and then the game? Basically, the game for this is huge. You've got a whole ton of stages to collect the items. Oh yes, it recreates the original game, and that's when, and here's where the game absolutely comes alive. So you've got some really nice mechanics in this one. You see there with the the aim, of course, is to get the key and basically rescue Pauline. And you have to rescue Pauline over a huge array of stages. It really does take the original Donkey Kong format and expand it quite exponentially. And it's one of those Super Game Boy games that does have an absolutely lovely border. I don't think there's any... But it makes lovely use of the Super Game Boy's colour palette as well. There were some of these sort of original style sound effects as well. Okay, I will jump on to another title. I think I'll jump onto one of the Warriors finally. I'll probably finish off with Castlevania. And here we go with one of the classic Super Mario Land. Now, I'm not sure if this one actually, the default colour palette was particularly designed for Super. Well, I'm changing the colours again in case you missed the early part of the stream using LLLLR. And there was a range of special features that I showed. Basically, if you go back to the start of the stream, I show all the borders. tricks and cheats. So there are a few of them, as we mentioned. You get if you do any certain borders like this one, if you do pick this one and then do 1, 2, 3, 4, you have to screensaver mode. Definitely works in this. Oh, I see each of the stages has their own different types of screensaver. So that one's got the monkeys climbing up the tree. Nice. Okay, so that's the one I was showing you earlier was this one, which has the parade. Where you then get the parade. Ah, so each of them has their own screensavers. Okay, then. So on this one you get the parade go-by, so which I showed earlier. This one didn't seem to have one. It seemed to glitch if you did it. Ah, that's what was supposed to be happening earlier. The cogs are supposed to all be moving. There's some really great, nice little touches with this one. Shame you can't do that while the game's actually in operation. You can't have them moving while they're in operation, so... Oh, and there we go, the bushes have started wiggling. Oh, we got a little bird in that one. And a croc too. So each of them actually has their own different screensavers. That's quite nice. That's... So we've got moving dolphins there. And last but not least we have this one, which I don't think has one. Let me just try again. Oh, yes, the flames. Oh, we have fireworks going on. Let's get back to Super Mario Land. Probably one of those iconic Game Boy games that I've just not pressed the jump button and died horribly. But I do think the default colour scheme in this might be directly designed specifically for this game. Hence the red dungarees. It's a shame that Super Game Boy couldn't detect some of the cartridges and do special borders for a few of them. Obviously they had to have the borders on the cartridges. Obviously the Super Game Boy didn't have the ability. Well, it might have been able to detect. It'd have to read the ID number of the cart. Or the header. You only actually have one fire all on screen in this one. Due to the harder limitations, or basically because it's such an early... This is certainly one of those games I would describe as one from my misspent youth. Perhaps best remembered because of the fact I never used to own it, so I would always play it on other people's. Back when I was younger. And there we go with the secret bonus door that gives us all the 1-up minigame with the extra lives. Oh, it's not too bad. What was unique about Mario Land is because it was developed by a slightly different team, there are a lot of enemies here that subsequently didn't appear in other Mario games, but it had a very much unique feel. Something a lot of the later Mario games lack because they overly... So you get the Goombas and Troopers, but there's a lot of other enemies that are exclusive to this one, giving this game very much its own unique feel. Something a lot of the later games lack with the reuse of just all the traditional enemies that you do get. You do need some new enemies in the game in the mix to keep it fresh, and that's something Nintendo seem to have forgotten. They've stuck so close to their existing enemies that they haven't developed new, because really Mario should have a whole range of enemies to battle. So I will end on Castle. I think I'll do Castlevania and then finish. Just do a quick stage on this one. We got the bonus score. And that is called Perfect Luck with the live bonus. Ah, this is actually... No, I'll do the stage. This is the boss, just because it's been a while since I've done this boss. Quite fun to do as well. Might be actually want to do a playthrough of Super Mario Land at some point. It's not that hard a game, it's quite a short game. That was not the time to lose Big Mario with the Fire Flower. Now you have to jump over the boss now. I do miss some of the bosses in this because they were all quite unique in this one compared to, as I mentioned, so. Yeah, you really got to get that run jump. Oh, I think you can jump over him, can you? Run under him. Yeah, I think I can. Gotcha! And down he goes. Yeah, this one has some sort of odd enemies in comparison to other Mario games, which is quite nice because it just freshened it up a bit. It's quite glad to see an enemy like the old Spink sort of enemy. And if you weren't rescuing Peach in this one either, you were rescuing Daisy. Right, let's swap game. Okay, and here we go with another. So this is another Game Boy game that actually has the Super Game Boy support, and it actually is a fantastic soundtrack, even if the gameplay is not the best. Although it's the best of the Castlevania games on the Game Boy, this is Castlevania Legends. And as this is 97, this does have some really nice visual art. Now, I will probably do a proper video on the Super Game Boy 2 at some point as well, just because I think the proper video will probably do slightly better than a stream video. But here we go, and yes, we have the Castlevania tune rocking out from the get-go. I do love this music. The first stage is some of the best music in the game. This one gets a lot of flack as a Castlevania, but I still actually quite like it. It's certainly the best of the Game Boy ones. Which, while isn't exactly a Stoller recommendation, it's certainly better than what people would have you believe it is. It's certainly better. But yeah, none of the Game Boy, I have to be honest, all the Game Boy Castlevanias are basically best avoided. This is another game that does make good use of the Super Game Boy. This one does technically have branching routes, but usually they are just for fight. Some of the branching routes just dead ends to drive you up the wall. Others are literally just to the power-ups, and that's it. There's not really much in the form of branching routes. It's you get secondary magic, and then it's or things like that. We got one up. There's also some booby trap rooms in this one, which are equally infuriating when they occur. Well, the pace of the game could be a little faster as well. It's not the fastest. The pace is not great for a Game Boy game. Compared to, say, Mario and Kirby, which should have actually shown Kirby's Dream Land 2, but I think we were getting pressed for the number of games I'd picked, so that's one of the booby trap rooms. These are basically unique to this Castlevania. As you can see, these rooms are just an exercise in you losing health. And if I hit that lamp again, I'll go straight back into that booby trap. So yeah, really bad design, whoever came up with that idea. Let's not show another game with Super Game Boy 2 features. well, Super Game Boy features with the special background. I don't imagine many people have seen this one. It's not the greatest Super Game Boy background, I will admit. I mean, certainly the Donkey Kong one was vastly better. But it's nice to show it. That's right, you need to get a number of collectibles on top of the magic in order to, I think, see the true ending. I think this is another Castlevania where if you don't get everything, you don't get the true ending. Yes, that was pretty obvious that was going to be a booby trap room, and I fell straight for it. Ah. Okay, I think this is the boss. So yeah, as you can see, the levels in this are quite long, Castlevania Legends. Come on, is this the boss? This is the boss. Yep, this is the boss. And notice the B bar is not the boss health in this one. Okay, that was the first magic. That was the first stage in Castlevania Legends. Another one, maybe we'll get round to doing a playthrough at some point. And I will quickly jump to one other game before we finish.